Hello everyone. As I promised to you, today is gonna be my first video where I will be sharing a bit of my past, and specifically I will be sharing from the side of my spiritual journey that brought me here to where I am today. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for all these messages I received of encouragement and people who were saying that we want to hear what you have to say in terms of your personal journey, what you've been through, where you've been, what you've learned, and so we can share. And most of all, I want to thank my friend and coach Liv, who she was the one who actually pushed me, like, so you should start sharing about your spiritual journey and where you are right now. She also happens to be tonight somewhere up in the north, where she's delivering her first official TEDx talk, and I'm really proud of you, by the way. So the idea behind what I want to share with you today, and this small series what I will be running of videos, is I have been 18 years almost on the spiritual journey. I have gathered some experiences in life. I learned a few things. I practiced and experimented a lot. And the first thing I would like to share is that, as I shared earlier today on an article I wrote, we all come in this world with a gift. We're all given a gift that is not for us to keep, but it's for us, but it's ours to share with the people. And the more we share that gift, the more we live through that gift, our life expands. God paves the way for us to go out there and live the life of abundance that we are all meant to live. Now, when we're talking in terms of a gift, you don't need to think in terms of only like music, sing and dance, not all these type of things, because a gift can be you're better than someone else in cooking, in baking pies, better than someone else in cutting hair, better than someone else in cutting grass, and so on and so on. Everybody has the ability to become the best in his field of expertise and be the king within his kingdom of expertise that he has. Now, there are one category of people who they don't know what the gift is. They have hints of it, they have seen it happening, they had moments of clarity within time and space where they lived and experienced being within that gift and enjoying life like how it should be enjoyed. And then there are the other type of people who, from the moment they were born and raised, they knew what a gift is, but they never accepted it as being a gift. They were always denying it, and I am one of these people. Since I was born and raised, I knew that I had come here to do something great, but I didn't know what it was. And I also love to help people. Since I was maybe 5-6 years old, which I have my earliest memories, I always like to help people, support them, find them solutions to their problems so they can solve the problem and live a better life. And I was always sacrificing something for me, for others. Until, as I was growing up, I started seeing that people were kind of using and abusing my kindness, so I chose to shut off and eventually, with time, become more selfish, which I'm quite sure many other people have done in the past. But what had that as a repercussion? I chose deliberately to shut off and just become a normal person like everybody else, which it's really interesting because this weekend I was away in an Andy Harrington training. He did the Millionaire Mentor, and he said something, let's say, profound, which has stuck with me and I'm still thinking about it. He said, why you try to fit in when you are born to stand out? Why we're trying to be liked by other people? Why are we worried so much to what the other people will say about us? And for me that was a big thing as I was growing up in the world, because one of my earliest memories, let's say, I remember I took the meaning to something happened at school, and I took a meaning that I don't belong here. I'm not part of the gang, let's say, at school, and I felt isolated. And then I made that choice, become independent. I played with my toys. It wasn't so much out with people, but when I was, on the other hand, being a kid, when I was out with people, I wanted to play, I wanted to fit in, and I couldn't kind of quite discern the way to fit in. That brought like more and more isolation as I grew up. But the bad side of it is that it brought a sense of like I need to be well behaved in order for people to like me, so they want to hang out with me, which kind of enforced me being the type of person that wanted to please others in order to be accepted, which is one form of behaving in the world. And the result is that I shut off me standing out, me being myself, in order to please others, and that's how I lived my life. And the truth is that this is how I have led my life up until the past, I think, 3 years, which everything changed the moment I chose to do something about my life and my world, and I chose to start studying with animals and become a life coach myself. And I can promise you that, and it's true what I will say now, that since the day I chose to go and study with animals, my life has completely shifted. It has become more magic because I started realizing human behavior. I started realizing how we interact as human beings. I started realizing how I have allowed myself to behave towards other people. You have that moment in the life where you pay your money, you go somewhere to receive a training that you believe you will take a diploma, where you will go out there and you will become something else, only to realize that in the process, mostly you pay the money to transform yourself. Well, you can argue here that, I pay the money to invest in my education so I can become better. Yes, to change, let's say, the occupation you're doing. But in my case, it felt more like I paid in order to learn something for me. So I felt I transformed so much. My negative beliefs, my way of treating other people, the language I'm using, how I can treat other people, how to speak to them, and so on and so on. It has literally transformed everything. So that's a few things as an introduction I would like to do with you tonight. And I have decided that I won't do my shares about my journey in a chronological order, but rather I wanted to do it in highlights, in defining moments of transformation. And because transformation happens for me when you realize, when you receive a coaching, when you receive a message from an outside source that kind of sheds light, like a flashlight. It sheds light inside you, where you start seeing, realizing, and the chemistry of your brain, your mind, your neurons inside, they start shifting, transforming. And this eventually, it's like, watering a soil, and as the time goes by, the water goes more and more down until it settles into the roots of whatever is to come up. And that's how we are as human beings. We read a book, we watch a movie, we receive some coaching, we receive some training, and it's like we're watering the flower, the beauty of the flower that is us. And we water it, the water goes down, provides the nutrients along with the weather and everything else that comes with the soil. And eventually we transform, we start blossoming, and we start expanding and growing. So one of these thank you, my good man. So one of these defining growing moments in life was on 2016, where by accident, as we define it as human beings, but universe doesn't define them as accidents, it defines them as prearranged happenings. I so happened to be able to travel to Peru. It was a long journey. We had like 15 hours of flight alone from Madrid to Lima, plus another 2 hours from here to Madrid. Long journey there, long journey back, with some really funny happenings on the way back. I lost my case, I couldn't find my case for over a month, and so on and so on. But that didn't stop me anyway. So I went to Peru. and I visited some beautiful places like Cusco, Puno, Lake Titicaca, and of course I visited Machu Picchu. Now, the big transformation, I would say, started happening before I left England. You know, as they taught me in one of the training centers which I attended in Landmark, the moment you register yourself to do something, you put the money down, you put the dates down, transformation starts happening in the moment of the commitment. And exactly the same thing happened to me the day I booked my tickets. I went to the bank, I saved the money because I needed to change the currency. So 1, 2, 3 steps that I took to show to the universe that I commit to the journey, the transformation started happening. I started having some weird sensations, let's say, some dreams about what will happen, where I would go, because the universe has many different ways of kind of guiding us and preparing us for the next step. Wherever we're going, what will be the next step? It has its beautiful, unique way of preparing us, whatever that next step is. And so, yes, transformation started happening little by little. The excitement was building. So I went there. I started meeting the people, communicating, interacting. I had a friend of mine who accommodated me, and she was kind of my guide and translator at the same time. Very good friend, Cynthia. And I had the chance to interact with the people. I started seeing the culture of the people, the language, how they communicated. I visited places areas, let's say, where people were really poor, and despite being poor, they never lost a smile. They were always smiling. I saw the children again playing in the neighborhood, like my neighborhood I grew up when I was a kid. So let's say in the beginning, that journey made me travel back in time to a happier moment. Less worries, less stress, less concerns, less anxiety. It was really beautiful. Because, as I said, universe, when it prepares to give you big lessons, certain things will happen. And one of them is that the universe will put you in a beautiful state. Beautiful state will be calm, relaxed, and open for expansion. Also, you will notice in your lives that when big transformations are about to happen, one way or another, you will have to cross water. Don't ask me why, because I'm still learning this thing, but the truth is that always big transformations in life, big steps in life, always involve water in between. For example, right, you were within your mom, water broke, and you were born. That's a big shift, big transformation. Always involves water. Water maybe involves flow, maybe it involves things like compassion, being loving, being calm, being polite, being generous. Plus, if I remember correct, within the ceremony world, water represents also cleansing. Shedding what was before to prepare you for the next stage. And that's exactly what happened. So first I had to cross water on ocean. Then when I landed, I started interacting straight away with the people in the neighborhoods where I lived, which took me back in time to remind me the child state, if you may put it that way. And then after, I think, the fourth day, I don't remember right now, was 3 years ago, we started traveling. We left Lima and we started traveling. As I said, we went to Cusco, went to Puno. We visited some ancient ruins, some temples. And I started feeling like I was, little by little, I felt like I was connecting to the land. Now, our first big step within the journey that happened, because I stayed there almost 2 weeks, we went to Machu Picchu. It's really interesting because you take an aeroplane, you visit another, like the more internal capital of the country, and from there you take your bus that takes you to a train station. From the train station, that takes you up to the city, up in the mountains, and the city is from where you take the bus the next day, if you want to take a bus that leads you to the entrance to the Machu Picchu temple. Again, where we stayed the night before, we did, actually even before that, the train on the way to the city up in the mountain, again the train was passing right next to the river. Again, transformation and shift was happening with water by my side. And for those of you that don't know, in the modern world, if you have a look about in terms of like feng shui, you will notice and you will see the research says that roads represent rivers because they have to do with flow, And train railways also represent represent water flow as well. So yes, we went with the train. We passed the rivers that were there. We went up in the mountain in that city, and we rented a room to stay there for the night before the trip up in the temple. And again, where we rented the room to stay for the night, our room was literally in front of the river that was coming down from the top of the mountain. I remember the flow was really strong, and you can see that in one of my videos, because I have an album on my Facebook page with all the pictures and videos of how my trip was in Peru, and you can hear the river, how strong it was. And we thought that we wouldn't be able to sleep in the night, but we were more than capable. But then again, it's really interesting when you notice that when you go to bed and sleep, and you can hear the water flowing in that intensity that it has, plus the frogs in the night, all the nature, how much helps you put yourself in a beautiful state as a human being, the water that flows. Because we are, as human beings, we are condensed vibration and energy. And you will notice that, plus we have 75% of water inside us. So you can see like how at some point the water inside you starts to speak to the water outside, and you start, both of you vibrate in the same rhythm. And in that moment you start feeling the lay of the land, you start feeling the land around you and inside you. And that now brings us to the next day, when we went to the trip. Again, another beautiful thing that I experienced there was like a lot of tourists from around the world, especially from Latin America. And it was really beautiful to hear the language people were speaking. All of them were speaking Spanish, but it was really interesting to hear people speaking Spanish from Spain, from Colombia, Venezuela, from Peru, Puerto Rico, I think it was, from Chile. It was really beautiful to hear the accents, how different the accents were of the people. And although you thought that you knew one language, the accents, you were feeling like you were listening to an entirely different language. And my friend said, no, they're all speaking Spanish. It's just the accents and pronunciation of the words, the local lingo that they have. It was beautiful. I thought I was a citizen of the world, let's say, while I'm living in London. But when I visited this place, I heard dialects, I was looking for the word, that I haven't heard before. Well, it was really beautiful for me, because the language is music, and it helps you expand your brain, more to hear. And make a long story short, so we went at the entrance, they prepared us, we did our paperwork, we went in, and then they just left us, because it was like 6-7 o'clock in the morning, so they left us to wander around the ruins of the temple. And now, I don't know how exactly to describe this to you, because some things the universe puts you through as training and transformation, you cannot really describe them by words, all of them. If you can visualize, close your eyes and visualize for a minute that you are standing on the top of a mountain, 6,000 feet above sea level. And we tend to say here in England, the world is your oyster. But trust me, you haven't realized what that sentence means until you are on the top of that mountain. And you start seeing the lay of the land for miles, thousands of miles around you, expanding and expanding and expanding. And the world then suddenly starts to feel very small. So I always was saying that people should always travel with an aeroplane at least once or twice in their life. Because when we are down here on ground level, we're so much concerned with what's going on, with what's happening, with the day-to-day activities, the interactions, our concerns that we have in our minds. But the moment you go on the rooftop, let's say, of a skyscraper, or on a high building, or the moment you take an aeroplane and you travel and you start seeing the world from above, you start seeing in that moment how small things are, how small concerns are, how small worries are, because your eyes expand. And that's exactly what happened. And I remember at some point as we were walking up the mountain along the temple area, it was really beautiful. In the morning it was like very big humidity going on. You couldn't see too much after a certain area point. Sorry. And I remember at some point as the sun was coming up, I turn my eyes, I look up, and there is another mountain in front of us, far in the distance, much higher than the one we were. And the only thing that you could see for a minute among the clouds was the point of the mountain, and behind that, the sun was coming up. I felt that for me, it was like a shine, or you can name it what you will. But it was a fantastic moment, seeing the beauty of the world. And when we stood there for a minute, I took some pictures. All these pictures, again, they are on my album on my Facebook page, where you can see them for yourself. And when we start talking, now they're walking. Sorry, I'm up in the temple. Now the reason why we went earlier in the morning was because humidity is intense after 8-9 o'clock, and you cannot really breathe the higher up you go, the more high you go. So we were lucky because we went really early. It wasn't so hot as well, so it was quite nice. We had the chance to go up quickly and visit all the areas of the temple. We took a lot of pictures. Now there is there are two spots that were of significance for me. So they have one spot that they have within the temple city of Machu Picchu is the Gate of the Sun, as it's called. I really don't know why, but something told me I had to go there. So we started walking there, as I said, early up because of the humidity, and it was really interesting. At some point, there's like a small pathway that you go through, and on your right side is the mountain, and on your left side is the cliff that goes all the way down, and you could see that they had these layers where they were like growing their crops. So I don't know how they did that, to be honest, but it was because it was a sheer cliff, the way you saw it. And there was like, on the top of it, right next to the gate, there was a small caveat, and I could sit there and meditate. And I remember I did the connection where I started seeing in front of me condors flying, but on the ethereal level. Then we stood there for a while, and I started seeing the condors going left. So I said to my friend Cynthia, we have to go back to where we came from, because I feel like these condors are directing us in a specific way. So we went all the way back. We met some Australian guys along the way, really helpful people. It's like when you feel guided some days in your life, you take a certain path, then things start to happen together to help support the journey. And this is exactly what happened. So we went back to where we started. We went up to the main temple area. We started going around and around. As we were taking pictures, I was grounding myself to feel the energy of the place. But for a long while, in certain areas, I was feeling like blanks. Nothing was happening. And then, behind the big temple area, right before you turn right and start going back into where you came from, the entrance, there is a small clearing, like my mind has stuck now, I can't remember exactly the word in English. It's like a common area for people to meet in a village, or like a plaza, sorry. And right in front of that plaza there is an entrance where you can go on another mountain, small mountain up, where it's more sheer cliffs that you need to climb, and it's more for more brave people. I wasn't a brave one on that one to do it, because literally they have put stone steps. They have made holes and put them in, and you literally step up on them, and under there's nothing, just thin air. So if you fall, you fall. So we stood in that plaza, and I said to my friend, let's stay here for a minute because I'm feeling something. And I connected. I stood I laid down on the land and took the yoga position for meditation that the most well known, and I started connecting with the land. And I felt that in that plaza, in that area, it was like a sacred place, because I felt like both female and masculine energy were coming together. And in that moment I asked to connect with whoever I was to connect to be my spiritual guide. And in that moment 3 people appeared. And They extended their hand. I took one of them. I took his hand, and we started like floating up above the whole temple area. And they told me that as you see this now, like the lay of the land, where everything is small and concerned, you need to know that we will guide you. We are with you, and your mission in this world is for you to teach all these people of the land, because you will be one day a guide that will affect millions of people. Of course, me with my human brain, I went into my brain and I said, I'm not good enough, so what are you talking about? And they just said, you need to wait for it and you will start seeing what's gonna happen next. But because from previous experiences in my life, I have received some really strong messages that didn't make any meaning at all at the moment of happening, I said, okay, I understand, I accept what you tell me, and I will do as I must. And in that moment, they gave me some presence, spiritual presence, that this type of presence, they tend to stick with you, with who you are, and they are there to energize you, to remind you and support you. And then they waved goodbye and I came back to myself, to who I was. I felt a bit dizzy for a while. That's why I put my palms on the ground to ground myself totally. I did the gold ray of light exercise to ground it even more. And then I said to my friend, it is time to go. Now, we left from there, and I think we left the same day. We took the train to go back, and from there we took a bus down at the main city. And from there we went to the other city, I think it's Puno, where it's the city at the lake, where you take the boats. But as a tourist guide, you go and visit the Lake Titicaca. Where from the other side of the country, I think is the other side is Bolivia, who is responsible, let's say, for their side, for the lake. Now, what I know about Lake Titicaca is that right now, let me put it another way, the masculine energy of the world was being supported in Tibet up until 50 years ago. But now, right now, this energy has shifted, and now the female energy is the one that's holding the earth together, and it is based on above Lake Titicaca. And the ascended master who is responsible for holding that flame going, let's say, for our world right now, is Lady Nada, which has to do with the balance of female and masculine energy. Her energy is, I think, either orange or light purple, violet, if I remember correct. And they say that in ancient times, right below Lake Titicaca lies an ancient temple city which belonged to her. She was a high priestess there. I can't remember now how many thousand feet above sea level this lake is, but what I can tell you for sure was one of the most magnificent views I have ever viewed in my life. This beautiful view where the water is crystal clear, the sky is crystal clear, and in the horizon you lose sight of where one meets the other, or where they're separated, and you feel that connection right in front of you as you go. And that was one beautiful moment. And the second beautiful moment was that as we were traveling along the lake, I had a very, very strong and weird feeling that I felt as if I was back home in my country, in Greece, because the layout of the land, the way the islands were, the way the sun and the water, all this, how they combined together, was like as if it was exactly the same as if I am in the Aegean Ocean, and I'm Mediterranean Sea, sorry, and I'm looking at the islands that we have there. It was literally, I was feeling like as I was home. And then we met some people that live there in the island, small tribes and families of people. We spoke with them, we interacted with them. It was really beautiful. And on the way back, we stopped again by, I think, Cusco was called the city. We met some Greek guys there. They were also tourists and traveling. We met a lot of Greek people. Another huge thing I was amazed by while I was staying in Lima was they have a lot of Greek culture going on. They have like statues of goddess Athena. They have meanders all over the place. They have a lot of Greek people living there. Plus, my friend, she happens to be a teacher, and she said that one of the major lessons that they teach children in language in the schools, the history, ancient history, they also teach them the Odyssey and the Iliad, which was like a big surprise for me. So that's why people love a lot the Greek culture, and they have incorporated it into their society. It was like a really, really beautiful feeling. And the third thing that happened for me in Peru was we visited the very beautiful area in Lima, and this place is called Miraflores, which is, it feels like you are in Miami actually. They have these palm trees, very well preserved area, very rich area as well. And this place where we were overlooks on the Pacific Ocean, and that was another huge thing for me, because it was the first time in my life that I saw the Pacific Ocean. It was like so wide, water everywhere, and the realization that, oh my God, I'm on the other side of the world, kind of, if you compare it to where we come from. And the feeling it gave me was really strong calmness and beauty, and feeling at ease, being one with the ocean and watching the water flow. I really love being in water, right near the water. And this was a major thing as well for me in terms of energy and how you connect. Now, overall, I would say it was one of the biggest things for me I've done in my life, because it was the first time I traveled so far alone, and it's certainly one of the things that I took off my bucket list, because you don't get every day the chance to travel so far and visit places so unique like how Machu Picchu is. So I would say, if there was a little takeaway that you could take out of my sharing tonight, is that if there is a place that you always fancied to visit in the world like I did, go for it. Don't let it grow old and regret why you didn't do so. Okay? And always be open to meet new people, always be open to get more experiences in life, and don't wait for things to happen to you. Go out there and get them, because not only you will meet new people, new cultures, new languages, new habits, not only you will open your mind and your eyes and you will realize new things. Also, if you are open on a spiritual level, you don't really know what might happen where you go, what openings might happen, because sometimes in order to have transformation happening for us, we need to change the background, what we see every day. We need to change it. And when I say change it, I'm not saying like go in a place you've been before. If you're like from a different country like me, I'm Greek, well, I'll go back home and I will change a little my background so I will feel okay. No, you need to do something. You need to travel and go somewhere where it will expand you, will stretch you, something and somewhere that you haven't done that before, because this is where the real transformation will happen. Because you go there, everything is new, you don't know nothing, so it might feel in the beginning of like, oh, okay, what's going on here, but no, it's not that. It's not like, oh my God, I'm gonna be scared. No, oh my God, I have the chance to actually transform something here by experiencing something new, and that's what I did. So that's my share for today. I hoped it landed there somewhere with someone, and I helped some people with my sharing. And I intend to do every Tuesday evening, I intend to do a small series where I will share more of my journey, like how I did today. I hope I educated you, I hope I helped you see something for yourselves, and I can't wait to speak to you again soon. Alright? Have a good one. Take care.